She's got long legs and short shorts, but she ain't got no teeth. She wears a red bandana on her head and she smiles so sweet. She'll steal your heart, a very first sight should rip apart your soul. She'll torture your mind and waste your time and drag you down the road, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel.
Hey y'all, this is the St. Andrew's Jezebel podcast, episode 16. My name is Ashley Feller. I'm a third-generation Panama City native, musician, and singer-songwriter. This week I've got a special show in store for y'all. I am happy to say we have our first salty local making a guest appearance on the podcast. Recently, I met with January Johnson at Floriopolis to learn about her experiences as an Airbnb hostess. Please stay tuned for the full interview. This week, I'll be sharing most of the music events for the St. Andrews area, as well as some other fun happenings in the area as well. I'm hoping to share all kinds of public events. If you are having a yard sale, or you'd like me to help promote a special happening, please DM me on the podcast or on Facebook, or you can email me at ashley.feller@gmail.com. The podcast is now available to stream on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, CastBox, and Google Podcasts. I'd like to thank everyone who has subscribed and shared the podcast with all their salty friends. You can find the podcast on Facebook as well as Instagram. You'll find the links in the comments below. I bet some of you are anxious to plan the perfect weekend, so get out your calendars, grab your favorite beverage, and get ready to enjoy the show. Get ready for a sunny, beautiful weekend filled with many, many choices for live music. Start your weekend off with some after-work cocktails at the Shrimp Boat and tap your foot for some great jazz by Class Act. Then, if you need your taco fix, I recommend you stroll over to Los Antojitos and enjoy delicious margaritas and music by Scott Rockwood and Sean Hartung at 6 o'clock. Joey Brooks is also sharing his songs for you across Lake Ware at Little Village, also at 6 p.m. You can enjoy a beautiful dining experience with music by Too Saxy at Alice's on Bayview, also at 6 p.m. If you're ready for a tasty craft beer, it might be a great idea to go listen to some of your favorite tunes by De Nouveau at Taproom at 6 p.m. Sons of Saints will play music for you at the upstairs of the House of Bourbon at 7 p.m., and John Cannon is making his beautiful music at Uncle Ernie's also at 7 p.m. If you haven't visited Library on Beck, you're really missing out. It's a building full of books and beer and music by Casey and Dave, who are picking for y'all at 8 p.m. For all you night owls, I recommend sashaying down to the Salty Hobo to listen to Sarah Moranville, who has a huge selection of songs, and she begins at 9 p.m. The market at St. Andrews is every Saturday morning and opens at 8 a.m. in the lot next to the Shrimp Boat. There are a number of fantastic arts and crafts vendors, food trucks, and live music brought to you by Floriopolis that begins at 10 a.m. I'm happy to say I'll be playing and singing for y'all this Saturday, but I'll actually be playing next to Floriopolis by the Magical Unicorn. The market is always interested in different musicians, so if you're interested in performing at the market, please send me an email at ashley.feller@gmail.com, or you can always private message the podcast. This Saturday is also the Causeway Car Show, which begins at 9 a.m. at the Shrimp Boat. The inaugural event will be held on February 20th, 2020 at the Shrimp Boat Restaurant, located at 1201 Beck Avenue. The 2021 theme is Cruisin' for the Kids, with all proceeds going to the Optimist Club's Children's Cancer Program. The top 10 People's Choice will be awarded, and there will be vendors, music, and giveaways. Food and drink will be available to purchase from House of Bourbon, the Shrimp Boat, and Barefoot on the Bay. Following the market, waddle down to Tap Room and enjoy the musical talents of one of my favorite locals, Janelle Frost, at 1 p.m. Leanna Carter is back at Little Village, also at 1 p.m. Then ramble back to the Shrimp Boat for more wonderful jazz played by Class Act. Jamal Terry is playing music for you across the way at Los Antojitos, And Steve Gilmore returns to Alice's on Bayview, also at 6 p.m. Next, wander back to the tap room for another tasty beer and music by Freaky Teeth starting at 6 p.m. Jay Smith is picking and gritting for you at the beautiful open-air deck on Uncle Ernie's, and Brian Bassett will be serenading you at the library on Beck. Lastly, Cody Barber will be closing out the evening for y'all at the Salty Hobo at 9 p.m. Sunday is my favorite day to relax, drink beer, and listen to live music. I also love brunch. It just so happens there is a wonderful brunch at Alice's on Bayview this Sunday starting at 10:30 a.m. with music by Too Saxy. The endlessly talented Scott Rockwood will be playing tunes for y'all at the Little Village. Do not miss that. And also, local favorites Woods the Band will be singing beautifully for you at the tap room at 6 p.m. And closing out the weekend, way up high on the deck at Uncle Ernie's is the fantastic Sean Brewer. And he starts at 7 p.m. This concludes most of the events happening in historic St. Andrews for the weekend of February 19th through 21st. Special thanks to Ken Schaefer for keeping us all informed about most of the music happenings on Oh Boy Music and Salty Sounds in St. Andrews on Facebook. For more information on music events in the Panama City area, please follow both pages on Facebook. Thank you so much, Ken, for everything you do. I'd like to share a few art-related events. The Historic St. Andrews Waterfront Partnership has been working for the last year planting butterfly gardens all around St. Andrews. There are currently 7, and their goal is 12. There is also a butterfly exhibit on Janie's fence. The installation is crafted by Floriopolis volunteers and will be on display through March 31st. Butterflies is on exhibit until the end of March and is generously sponsored by Bubba T. Bird. Butterflies includes the art of 14 local artists from ages 8 to 92. The artists are Heather Drost, Kim Drost, Silas Dyer, AniMae Avrigian, Jim Hayton, Jeannie Whitworth, Kelli Speck, Heather Parker, Adam Drost, Diane Mercado Moos-shore-ee, Jennifer Hodges, Barbara Dyer, Noel West, and one mystery artist. I sincerely apologize if I mispronounced any of your names. Floriopolis chose butterflies as this exhibit theme to coordinate with the new Butterfly Gardens project that the Historic St. Andrews Waterfront Partnership is now spearheading. With public involvement, a crew of volunteers and sponsors, Lowe's and St. Joe Community Foundation, the partnership has plans for 12 butterfly gardens and has already implemented 7 of them throughout the Merchant District. The current Janie's Fence Art in Public Places project coordinator is Megan McDougall, a Floriopolis volunteer and the manager of the market at St. Andrews. Megan and her assistant, stellar Floriopolis volunteer AniMae, have planned the themes for the remainder of 2021. Did you know you can take a free walking tour of St. Andrews? The Mile and a Quarter Loop takes you past historical homes, parks, the marina, and the marina store. For a free guided walking tour of historic St. Andrews, visit Panama City Publishing Museum on Wednesday and Fridays at 1 p.m. Or you can download the Florida Stories app, which is a free app that offers a narration of each stop and fun facts. The app is available for download on both iOS and Android devices. For more information regarding stops on the tour, please visit destinationpanamacity.com. This past Thursday, I had the pleasure of meeting with Salty local January Johnson to learn about her experiences in hosting one of the oldest Airbnbs in the St. Andrews area, which is known as the Bay House Playhouse. You can find links to learn more about this enchanting getaway in the show description as well as the comments below. I hope you enjoy the interview. Today is February 11th, 2021. My name is Ashley. I'm with the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. Today we've got January Johnson here at Floriopolis today, and we hear that you've got an Airbnb. What's the name of it, and would you like to tell us about it?
I do. I would love to tell you about it, but first I got to tell you a little background. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I was born and raised here. I left at 15 and moved away, and I was never coming back to this town. And I was gone for 33 years, but my family was always here. And so I came back several times a year to visit. As I got older, I'd get a condo on the beach with some friends that, were from here that didn't live here anymore. And so finally one year I said, I really love St. Andrews, and I wonder what it would actually take to buy a house here for myself. And so I went home after spending like a Memorial Day weekend or something here, and I started looking. And within a couple of days, I had found a property. My friend went to look at it for me. She's a broker here. And I had a contract like 2 days later, and I bought myself a little vacation house right down on West 10th Street. And I owned it for about 5 or 6 months, and a friend called me and said, hey, I know somebody who's looking for a short-term rental. We don't do that at my company. They do long-term rentals. She said, would you be interested in renting your place out? And I said, sure. She told me what she thought I could get for the rent. So I rented it to a travel nurse, and the girl came and stayed 2 weeks and decided she was homesick, but I should have seen it come in when she moved here with guinea pigs. But anyway, she said, I'm sorry, I have to go home, and will you let me out of my lease? And I said, sure. But I used that opportunity to think, okay, well, let me go ahead and put it on Airbnb because I've been thinking about that anyway. And this was in February of 2015. And as far as I know, I am the oldest Airbnb host in St. Andrews.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So when I started, I don't mean old like oldest person, right? But longest term, right?
Yes.
So when I started, there were 4 of us that I know about. 2 of them were boats in the marina. One of them was a guy at the Landmark condominiums who was renting out his place against the HOA, and me. And I don't know about the boats, but I know the other guy's not still going. But I put it on Airbnb, and the first year I did really well. And even I used it myself for vacation. I gave it to friends, and I still did well the first year. And so that encouraged me. And friends started saying, what do you mean you have an Airbnb in town? Like everything's on the beach, right? That's what everybody thinks. And I was like, oh, you people don't know what you have here. This place is amazing, I lived in some big cities, and I just appreciate this whole vibe down here, And so several other friends have also asked me about it, and I've actually coached them into having Airbnbs. The ones right down here, the cute little ones with all the different colors. Mm-hmm. That's a friend of mine's, and I helped her get those going. I mean, she's a realtor, but anyway, that's a very long answer to the story. But my first Airbnb is called the Bay House Playhouse. And we're on Instagram and Facebook, Bay House Playhouse. And the reason I named it that was because when I was a kid, I had a playhouse in my backyard. It was an air-conditioned playhouse. I was a spoiled child. But I thought, well, this is kind of like my playhouse. When I come home, I don't have to hang with my family. I can go to my own house. And so it's by the bay, and so I named it the Bay House Playhouse.
Sounds lovely.
Thank you.
Yes. And what has been your favorite part of hosting these Airbnbs so far?
Well, so from a personal standpoint, my favorite part is that somebody else is paying my mortgage on a retirement property for myself, right?
Yes.
So eventually I can sell it and make money, additionally from selling the property. I'm an investor in a couple of different things.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that to me is the best part personally. But also, I think the best part as a host is just introducing people to St. Andrews and this whole area, because people will say, I've been coming to Panama City or Panama City Beach for 20 years and I never knew this was here. And so I think, it's a great place, as you know, and more people need to know about it.
Absolutely. And are most of your guests that come to stay in your Airbnbs, are they here for mostly vacation or business or a combination of both?
Yeah, it's a real combination of both. So the Bay House Playhouse is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and it has a really cool back porch. So it's perfect for vacation, getaway, traveling with friends, whatever. But it's also a great place to work from home, or, people who are here for a long period of time and need a home away from home. Really, there's been a big mix. So the first couple of years, 15, 16, 17, it was vacationers. The occasional family reunion, wedding, they're not really here on vacation, but it is not work related. Mm-hmm. But then obviously since the hurricane, I now have 3 Airbnb properties, by the way. I have 2 over on Balboa and West 12th Street also. And I get a lot, since a hurricane, I've had, displaced families. I've had contractor crews. And for the past couple of years, in at least 2 of my properties, I've also had physician assistant students. So there's medical students who come from Pennsylvania, and they do their rotations down here for physician assistant, And so I'm in their system now, and so when they're looking for housing, they know that I rent to them. So right now I have a travel nurse in one of my places, I have a contractor crew in one, and I have physician assistant students in the other. So in a couple months, it'll be vacationers.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So you're getting a little bit of everybody.
A little bit of everybody. Everybody who needs a place, wants a place, and Airbnb is just super popular, and so if you've been a guest anywhere, then you tend to look for that home environment. And the best part is, you get to live like a local person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. When I travel, I enjoy staying in Airbnbs for that reason. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how many folks does each one of your properties accommodate?
So let's see, I have 2 that are 2 bedroom, 1 bath. One's really small and one's a little bigger. So 4 people in each of those. And then I have a 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath that really could have 6 people, because there's 2 queen rooms and a set of twins. So you could put 6 people there. So families, individuals, people traveling with a friend, 6 or fewer.
Oh, wow, that's great. Sounds like you can accommodate quite a bit. And are pets allowed in your properties?
I do allow pets on a case-by-case basis. I make sure that they agree to pick up after the pet or whatever in the yard, that they keep the dog hair out of the people beds. Nobody wants to be cleaning all that kind of stuff. And if they're here for a longer amount of time, I send a housekeeper in once a month to kind of, cut down on the dirt and mess and stuff. But I will take pets, and I know people like to travel with their pets.
Oh, that's even better. I love that.
Yeah.
And what have been the challenges for having these properties in this area before and after the hurricane?
Yeah, so I think I'm also a moderator for our Airbnb's Bay County Host Club. So all the hosts in Bay County, we have a little group on Facebook, and as a matter of fact, we're having an event this afternoon down the street. But what I hear from hosts a lot, and I also find this to be true, is keeping a good housekeeper is very challenging. So they start out great, and then, you'll be like, oh, this person's so fabulous, and they're doing everything great, and then they start slacking off, or they subcontract to somebody else, and so I think that person's doing the job, but really it's somebody else that's getting paid even less money. And then I'll go over there and find out, oh my God, there's, dirt under the bed that's never been cleaned, or things like that. So it's very challenging to keep a good housekeeper. If you have a good housekeeper and a keypad on your door, you can manage property remotely. That's my theory. Because the housekeeper puts their eyes on stuff and can tell me what's going on. So that's challenging. And I think that's pretty much it. Sometimes I get some crazy people who, like, I had some college kids that thought they'd build a fire pit out of random things right next to my house.
Oh, wow.
I know. And because my yard guy does all my properties, he was there doing the yard, and he saw it, and he told me about it, and I was like, what? So sometimes you get that, but it's not even spring breakers. Sometimes it's grown adults who are crazy. But those are really the only challenges. Mostly it's really good.
I bet it can be a lot of fun too.
It's fun decorating. It's fun, getting to know people from different places if I happen to be able to see them or meet them. It's fun reading in the guest book what they have to say about being here.
That's great.
That's all good.
And the ones that I've stayed in while traveling, some of them had a little bit of a theme going on. Are any of yours somewhat themed, or?
No, not really. I try to do a little beachy kind of a thing, but not overly beachy. So
right.
The Bay House Playhouse last May, in the middle of COVID, the beginning of COVID, I guess I should say, got a big makeover. So before, it was Jan decorates from Facebook Marketplace vibe with some leftover furniture from her grandmother and things like that. And it was cute, it was all right. But I thought, we're going to be shut down for a little while, and I'm going to take this opportunity to give it a refresh and a makeover. So it's coastal-ish, but it's not, hey, you're at the beach. It doesn't beat you over the head with that vibe. But it's fun to decorate like that.
That's fantastic. And speaking of cleaning up and housekeeping, has anyone ever left anything unusual behind? Anything funny or?
Well, usually it's stuff like, one time somebody left their laptop and I had to get that back to them. But one, at the hurricane, the people who were staying, there were 2 girls staying in one of my other properties, which I call the Sweet Suite, because it's a little tiny and it's cute. And they obviously evacuated, when the hurricane came. And then they came back and got their stuff, I thought. The place was crazy and torn up and water had been everywhere. But she got everything except she left a big, like a shopping bag, like one of those really nice paper shopping bags, full of underwear. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, do you don't need the underwear? You didn't see it? It's right here. I can see it. Why didn't you see it? So I just did away with it. I didn't even bother calling her or anything, because I just thought, she's gone. If she needed the underwear, she would have taken it.
I can't imagine asking somebody, you want your panties back?
I know, exactly. Yeah. And sometimes people leave things in drawers. When I travel, I try not to put things in drawers, because out of sight, out of mind. I'll forget it, right? And so I have found various, other pieces of clothing and bras and things, and I'll be like, do you want this back? And, I think the moral of the story here is, if you're going to travel, take your good panties. Because if you leave them, at least people will think you have all good panties.
So if I were from somewhere else and I were traveling to this area for business or maybe a family event, what would you want me to know about St. Andrews, and what places would you suggest that I visit?
Okay, so a couple of answers to that. So first of all, obviously, to me, St. Andrews, the artery is Beck Avenue. Everything cool happens on or very close to Beck Avenue. I do have a guidebook in my Bay House Playhouse Instagram link that will take you right to everything that I recommend down here. But I'll tell you a few things. So I love the sauteed shrimp at Copper Tap Grill. Is my favorite thing. It's a half a pound of shrimp for $9.95, and it's beautiful, and it's in this garlic buttery thing with this toast. I'm thinking about it right now. It's just amazing.
Sounds good.
There's so many good places down here to eat. So, and I think it's, we have some very unique businesses. So the Native Spirit Gallery, for example, at the end down there is, you're not going to find a cool place like that anywhere around here. It's a very unique local place with a great local owner, and some really unique art pieces, history. I think that's super cool. I think people should definitely stop off there. And then one of my other favorite places is Bergen Barrel. So I love the charcuterie there. Obviously they have a great wine selection, but the little meats and cheeses, I could eat that food like every meal, every day of my life. It's like little snacks.
Adult Lunchables.
Exactly. Fancy Lunchables. I love that. Exactly. So I highly recommend that. Anything you get down there is going to be good.
Yes.
And then you got to stop in and see Brad at Sunjammers, because if you need flip-flops or t-shirts or koozies or Yetis or kayaks, he's your dude. So I would recommend at least those 3 places for sure. 4 places.
Awesome. So aside from hosting your Airbnb, how would you spend the perfect day here in St. Andrews? If you had a day that you could just have the whole day here and do whatever you wanted.
Well, first I might sleep in a little bit. I don't even know what that's like. I think I would start my day at Little Village. I would go right before lunch, right when they open, but I'd go in the morning and I would have a glass of wine. I would sit under their beautiful palapa outside, which is actually a cheeky hut, authentic Floridian cheeky hut. I would do a little shopping there, because every time I'm there I like to buy something. I would definitely have the carne asada tacos at Finn's, which is inside Little Village. And then I would probably go find a place on the water. Like I really love Papa Joe's Bayside, which is not too far from here, but it's right on the same bay, and hang out there. Or I might get a pontoon boat here at the marina and take myself to Shell Island. That's what I'd do. I've been going to Shell Island since I was like 3 years old. And I love that, so that you can just get on a pontoon boat and in 15 minutes you can be at an island that's uninhabited. That is badass here.
It is. We really live in a paradise.
We do, for sure. And then when I came back and docked the boat and returned the boat, I would go have a cocktail at Bergen Barrel, or I would go have a beer at tap room. I don't really drink beer, but they have wine too. And I'd probably have dinner at Alice's on Bayview.
That sounds like an absolutely lovely day.
Doesn't it?
It really
Let's
does.
go do it.
When
are you free?
Absolutely. Let's make a plan.
Let's do.
So, I learned about your Airbnb from a podcast you made about being a guest on another podcast.
Yes.
What was the name of that podcast, and when can we listen to that one?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. I just sent my last picture in today to him. So it's called We Travel There. WeTravelThere.com is their website. And they were looking for new cities to profile. And so they said, if you want to see where we've already hosted or, guests we've already hosted from, look at this map. And they had all these little dots all over the place. And I zoomed into Florida, and they had nobody in Florida until Jacksonville. And then farther south. Nobody in the Panhandle had they interviewed. So I thought this is a great opportunity to showcase Panama City. Panama City Beach always gets all the press, rightly so. Beautiful, amazing beaches, fun stuff to do. But people don't know about this place. And I thought, if I can talk about Panama City, I'll definitely highlight St. Andrews. So we taped that in January, and it's going to air on February 15th. And then it will be recur. I mean, you can always get it there. You can listen to the podcast on their website. So it should be really fun.
I really look forward to hearing that. So we know that St. Andrews, one of the things I've noticed about it, I grew up here too.
Yay!
Is that it's kind of been in a perpetual state of recovery in some way or another. And most recently, it's been not just COVID, but more so the physical damages brought on by Hurricane Michael in 2018. I think things are definitely getting better, but how would you like to see this area progress in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I agree. The hurricane was so devastating, but it really has brought a lot of improvements to us. Forced improvements, certainly. And it was very devastating. And I don't mean to minimize, I don't mean to pretend like hurricanes are a good thing, because they're not. But people have had the opportunity to rebuild better. And I think that is always a plus, not just for the aesthetics, but for the quality of life, for the property value, just for safety, all of those reasons. So really what I would like to see is more multifamily housing, and I don't mean like big high-rise kinds of things. I mean, I think people are really looking for downsizable places, but yet that have the modern amenities. A lot of the homes around here are older, and so they might have one bathroom or very small closets or whatever, but people want to live down here. And I mean, I sell real estate part-time, and I can't even put a sign in the yard down here without a contract, an offer, multiple offers. I mean, if it's a good property, it goes quickly because people want to live here. And so if we had more duplexes and triplexes or quads, even 2 stories, I think that would increase the density of people here, but that would just be better for businesses here. People would be frequenting restaurants and bars and stores and things like that. There'd be more people to volunteer. So I'd like to see our housing really get expanded and upgraded. That's what I'd like to see.
That sounds excellent. It really does. So we really appreciate you being here today, and thank you so much for telling us about your Airbnbs and your connection to St. Andrews and your hopes for the future here. And just one more question,
Sure.
and thank you so much for being here, is how can folks find your listing and ask you questions about your property?
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. So I'm on Facebook, Bay House Playhouse, and there's a button at the top that says Book Now, and you can click there, and it will take you to the site of all of my 3 listings. And by the way, I'm not the only Airbnb here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about them, but I also want to talk about that, if my places are booked and you can't get in the fabulous Bay House Playhouse, you can definitely search the area here, and there's plenty of great hosts, local hosts, very close. I think walking distance to Beck Avenue is the prime way to do it, or you can also find me on Instagram, and at the very top, the link in the bio is a Linktree link, and it goes directly to my guidebook. It goes to be able to book on Airbnb or to look at my Facebook page. So you can get all of it there on Instagram, Bay House Playhouse.
Well, that is fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today, Jeannie
Thank
Ray
you.
Johnson. I hope everybody's enjoyed listening to this interview, and you'll tune in next week for more.
For this week's old news, I'd like to read a selection from the St. Andrews Bay News published February 17th in 1920. The flu decreasing, says local physician. The peak of our second visitation of influenza is past, according to Dr. J.M. Whitfield, who was questioned by the newsman this morning. We are very glad to hear it. St. Andrews suffered more severely this time than during the first flu epidemic, and there are yet some who are not out of danger. 2 deaths have resulted, both attributed to the malady, and the flu is still there. You can draw your own conclusions regarding less of any learned flub-dub about us being contagious or infectious. The attendance at school today was 83 out of 281 enrolled. A number of perfectly healthy children are staying at home because their parents believe that this is the best place for them. Other youngsters are supposedly at home, but actually rambling around, a nuisance to everybody except their own parents. Thank you so much for listening to episode 16 of the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. We now have a Facebook page which will share when future episodes will be published and more information regarding the growth of the podcast. Again, I'm so happy to share that the podcast is available for you to download on Apple Podcast and stream on Spotify. The links where you can stream and download the show will be posted in the comments below. Thank you everyone again for supporting this effort. The intro music was written by me and recorded by Dave Schwartz at Boundless Sounds on the campus of Gulf Coast State College. The show was written on my kitchen table and recorded by me in my music room. Till next time, keep St. Andrews salty.